this seminar series was originally set up in the midst of the pandemic, and it was a great opportunity to maintain some connection amongst our little academic and practitioner community, and also to support a research topic on frontiers for sociology and frontiers for psychology. There are still opportunities to submit papers, articles, literature reviews, scoping reviews, opinion pieces, think pieces, whatever you like to the research topic. I'd encourage you to do so, and it's supported in terms of open access funding with universities. But what I'd like to talk to everybody today about is a piece of research which we're starting up in May. It's a development fund award with the NIHR. So it's a short project. It's only about 6 months. It's only a 6-month project, but the idea behind this is that the NIHR gives a bit of money to academics to collaborate in developing a research proposal for a larger funded project. So it's a great opportunity. It shows the commitment of NIHR to the subject of older workforces. And it's also a great opportunity for us as a community, not just to collaborate amongst those of us who are part of the development award, but also more widely. So to put together a proposal that's interdisciplinary, which might cover many parts of the UK and cover the unique experiences of different groups of older people. So what we'll do is just give a short brief on the project and how hopefully you all can help in putting together a larger funded project towards the end of this year, going into next year. Just to very quickly mention that we've got an article which is coming out, which was the basis of this research proposal. So this is part of our research topic on aging and migration status and its impact on employment. It's based on a little bit of workshop research which are carried out with my colleague Louise Wong, who's one of the co-applicants or one of the co-investigators on this project, in which we talked to members of YN about their experiences. This was after the 2008 financial crash. It was a bit afterwards when people had within the YN community, a lot of them had expected to be able to retire in their late 50s, early 60s. They found that for various reasons, they weren't able to do so. And they found a fairly hostile and difficult job market that they were working in. So we talked to them, we explored with them their experiences in the job market and ways to improve things for them and for people like them. Of course, now you have post-COVID, you have new challenges for this group of people as well. So the project, it was a series of workshops using participatory action research to explore experiences and come up with some possible solutions. One of the strongest, the main themes of both the article and the project as well is that we've now gone through a fairly lengthy period of exploring aging workforces in the Americas and in Europe, and quite innovative approaches to managing age, in which there are win-wins for employers and older workers. The problem, a fairly intractable problem when it comes to the literature on this, is that there's an implicit assumption that within that older workers who either want to or need to work a bit longer are going to have the organizational support of their employer behind them. So they might have an HR person within the organization who is thinking big about ways to better manage manage age in the workforce and create new opportunities for people who need to work longer. That might be the case with many people, but it's certainly not the case with everybody. And there are many older workers who fall through the cracks because they don't have that organizational support behind them. So, for example, the jobless, people who lose their job in their 50s and 60s. We know that it takes an older worker a lot longer to find a new job after they lose one than it would be for a younger worker. And there are various reasons behind that. There's ageism, there is often the lack of employability skills that they might have. So if you've been working for a long time for one organization, you might not have that much experience in looking for a new job. And there's also the implicit bias in favor of people who are from within a company or within an industry that puts the outsiders at a disadvantage. There are people who need to make a midlife career change because maybe the job that they'd been doing and the line of industry that they'd been doing in their 30s and 40s suited them very well when they were younger, but doesn't really suit them as well later on. They could have very good transferable skills that employers say that they want, but it's difficult for them to make a leap into another type of job. The classic example of this might be, for example, paramedic workers. Paramedics have very good skills, transferable skills, like good decision-making skills, being able to make assessments very quickly, being able to make decisions with limited information. But it's very difficult for a paramedic to continue their job up until retirement age. Some can, some are very healthy and have the physical capabilities to do so, but many also are pushed out of work later. Helping them to make a transfer so that they can use those skills in new ways is something which you might think is something that employers would like to support, but nevertheless they fall between the cracks. Veterans is a very good example of this as well. I'm just doing a piece of work with colleagues in the Officers Association and RFEA about better ways to support people who leave military service after the age of 50 and need to find a civilian job, really starting out at ground zero when they're in their 50s. The nice thing about looking at the experiences of veterans is that there's an infrastructure in place beyond just the employer themselves, which is there to support them. So looking at good practices within the armed forces makes a lot of sense. And then there are people who work for small organizations that don't have that HR expertise, or they might have an HR person, but that HR person is only HR from 10 o'clock until noon on a Thursday afternoon, because they've got many other tasks that they need to do. Very good. There are many very good practices that small organizations have when it comes to managing older workers, but it often falls below the radar because they don't think of this as an HR policy to support older workers. So exploring the experiences of older workers who don't have that organizational support makes a lot of sense when it comes to any research concerning healthy aging workplaces. And certainly a lot of older migrants fall within this category as well. It's important to remember that when we're talking about older migrants, it's a very diverse workforce. It's a very diverse population. In fact, I'm a member of this particular population myself. What we're talking about here is a group of people that Tony Warnes termed the age-in-place migrants, people who have a lifetime of experiences of disadvantage and deprivation, exclusion from work, fragmented careers, and difficulties in making transitions from one job to another. Especially, that might be the case, especially for somebody, for example, who was self-employed for most of their younger career, and then need to make a transition to employment with an organization in later years. There are difficulties when it comes to ageism, discrimination, the lack of formal qualification. So if more of your skills are derived from experience and on-the-job knowledge, that might not have enough as much credentials for an employer than formal qualification, and often the lack of career planning as well. The work that I'm doing with the folks in the Officers Association on veterans, one of the big things that's emphasized for people who everybody knows is going to have to make a job transition at one point is to have a career development plan, to map out every skill that they have, so that when they have to then eventually make that leap into the job market, they've got that binder full of qualifications that they can go to an employer and say, here's what I have to offer your organization. Well, for somebody who didn't expect to have to look for a job in their 50s or 60s, and this is the case with many older migrants, if they're blown off course, they might not have that preparation in place to make the transition. And then finally, there's the issue of isolation and exclusion. If you had expected to be able to retire in your early 60s, you're not able to do so. But you have to find a job, which is very difficult to do. It can, of course, lead to feelings of stress, feelings of isolation, feelings that you don't really have the support of anybody in your endeavor to find something new. Now, of course, that those experiences aren't necessarily universal across the entire migrant population. It might be more true for some groups than others. And one of the interesting dimensions to this, which aren't being explored in this particular project, but might be in a later project, is how the experiences of older migrants from China and Hong Kong in the 70s, who migrated over in the 70s and 80s, might be a little bit different from those who are migrating from Hong Kong now, who have some support from government in terms of employability and training and other types of support. In the article, Louise and I posit that community activism could be a piece of the puzzle in trying to find some solutions for older migrants who are looking for work. Community groups, which we'll talk about in just a moment, can provide things like employability skills, CV writing, interviewing, and so forth. Networking seems to be very important, especially when jobs are being advertised through the informal market rather than through advertisements and so forth. Helping in terms of skills and experience mapping. So somebody who hasn't gone through the process of performance, their personal development plans, can get that support from social enterprises, from community groups, providing a pipeline for organizations that are available for support for older migrants who are job seekers to get the skills and get the support that they might need would be important as well. In fact, Denise will talk about some of the work that Dragon's Voice has in that regard, and some of the work that they've done with the NHS, not necessarily on employment issues, but on mental health and supporting people who might feel a bit isolated. Giving older migrants a voice on public and social policies are important as well. And it goes back to the initial problem that I posited before, that if the aging workforce agenda is set with a particular type of older worker in mind, somebody working for a large organization that has that HR support behind them, giving the voice to other groups who might not fit within that category is not only good for the older migrant because they have a voice in public and social policy, but it also helps to shape the policies as well, so that incentives for people working a little bit longer and support for and messages to employers in terms of thinking expansively when recruiting for workers has in mind the groups of people who have historically been excluded in the job market. Building solidarity, both within communities and between communities, is an important dimension to this as well, for all of the reasons that I've just stated before. One of the great things about the YN Society, which Circle will talk about in a moment, is that it's a group that not only represents the Chinese community within the greater Manchester area, but also builds links with other groups as well. And I don't know if many of you have had been part of our workshop a couple of months back last year when Elaine talked about Uncertain Future, which is a wonderful enterprise, a wonderful initiative to look at the experiences of older women in the job market. But it's all about building links between groups so that they're all pushing in the same direction. And then finally, providing a bridge between older migrants and employers to sort of offer that smoother transition from one job to another. Now, I'm going to pause for a moment now because I want to pass the floor over to two speakers who are going to talk about some examples, two really good examples of community activism and how it's played a role in improving the lives and improving the strengthening the voice of older migrants in the greater Manchester area. So the first speaker is Denise Megson, who's going to talk about Dragon's Voice, which is a radio program supported by All FM as a megaphone for older, for Chinese members of the Chinese community in the greater Manchester area.
Let's see if I can play this, or maybe Matt has to. Can you click on the
press the
audio,
press
please?
button?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, it's not working. Is the voice clip working then? I can't hear it.
Maybe you can't hear it?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I could hear it really well, but I guess I'm the only one that can hear it.
Yeah, I think you probably have to share sound on the settings.
Oh, I apologize. Oh, I see. How do I do that?
You have to go into your settings, I think, and then you have to share sounds. Anyway, while you're doing that, I'm just going to introduce myself and tell you a little bit about what we're going to talk about today. So I am the chair of Dragon's Voice, and Dragon's Voice is a constituted group of volunteers, mainly from the Chinese community. I mean, we do try to recruit anybody who's like to join us, but it's mainly been the Chinese community. And we broadcast quite regularly on All FM 96.9. So that is the local community station that we broadcast on. And we used to do weekly, and then we went down to bi-monthly, and now we're doing back to weekly again. So I was going to tell you a little bit about our evolution. I mean, if you can't do that, Matt, then it doesn't matter then. It's just a clip to for you to listen to. It was a little bit of an advertisement from one of the projects that we did, and it's spoken both in English and in Cantonese. So that was all I wanted to show, that we are mainly a bilingual program.
I apologize for this. Let me see if I can, let me just see if I can do it. Can you hear it now?
No, it's all right. We'll move on to the next slide.
Okay, I apologize for that. But maybe at the end of the presentation, you can let people know how to tune in themselves.
So, Dragon's Voice itself, we first started as Radio Shunlock, and we were under the auspices of Huayin. So it was developed from funding that was that Huayin applied for and got, I think it was from MCC, wasn't it? Or MACC, which is one of the charities. And it was to help people to know about and to use alternative talking therapies. I think that was the aim. So it's linked to mental health. We basically talked about, so that was the weekly show that after training we produced ourselves. We talked about diverse topics. And because of our professional background, I used to be a health lecturer at Salford Uni. So, and also social work and mental health was one of the focus of my work. So because of the expertise and the familiarity with those sort of areas, it tends to focus. But we also did things like travel. One of our members did things like talking about Chinese idioms and the stories behind Chinese idioms. So there were different topics that we talked about, and cooking was one, exercise was another. So we were with Huayin till up to July 2020, so for quite a few years. And the other projects that we did was Crossing the Border, which Circle will talk about a bit more. But under this project, we did interviews, I did translation, I did so transcripts. Actually, it wasn't just translation, transcripts, listening in Cantonese and then translating it back to English. And we also did radio plays. We broadcasted radio plays, broadcasted some of the interviews. So there's a range of work there that was done or undertaken by quite a lot of the Radio Shunlock members. And one of the other highlights was participation in Manchester International Festival. That year, I think in 2019 or 18, I can't remember that. One of the artists did an open things that each cultural group could contribute towards the festival. And we did with cooking and teaching and the history and the linking to migration, because we actually did dumplings in China and its history, then traveling up to Malaysia, which we do something similar called Onde, because I'm actually from Malaysian. So it's about, you know, exchanging of cultures and getting the presenters to be talking and teaching in front of a group of people. And when the pandemic came, there was obviously quite a lot of work that Huayin was involved in. We then started thinking about becoming more of an independent group, because then we could get grants ourselves rather than relying on the parent, the auspices of YIN. So we actually managed to get grants from different places, and we did a series. So these are all the funded series that Dragon's Voice participated in. So the hate crime series, and that was at the height of where hate crime was prevalent, especially to the Chinese community. So we did that 8 shows, 4 in Mandarin and 4 in Cantonese, of what hate crime is, how to report it. Circle was involved, being interviewed as one of the, because YIN is one of the 3rd reporting parties in hate crimes. We did a singing project, and that was again towards the later part of 2018, starting 2020, starting 2021. And we wasn't just the singing, it was about asking people to, or helping and encouraging people to voice and talk about how they coped with the lockdown and what was different, the Chinese New Year previous to lockdown and now, and how they're coping. And we did that with 4 groups, so with an older group, with the group that sang Cantonese opera, with young international students, and also with ourselves, our own members. The One Voice was funded by the Audio Contents Fund, and that was with All FM. And we did, again, a series of 8 shows, 4 in English, 4 in Cantonese. And it was more about the lives of Chinese people in Britain. And then after that, we did the COVID vaccination. As the news came out with BME populations do not take up the vaccination as much as the white counterparts. So we did some work with 2 doctors from a GP clinic to try and promote and boost the vaccination. And currently we are working on the ECHO project, which stands for Education, Culture, Health and Wellbeing and Opportunities. This project is targeted mainly at the new arrivals from Hong Kong to help them to settle into the community, but in a very different way. Rather than just giving them information, we actually recruit them to participate in radio production. And in radio production, I'll talk a bit more about it in the skills and training, but there's lots of skills that you would learn when you do radio production. And on the surface of it is, you do an hour show, it's just an hour, but it's not just an hour. It's quite a lot of work that goes with it, like researching for information, and also then deciding which bits of information that you're going to use to try and attract your audience, or it depends on the purpose, what you want to do on that day, whether it's just information giving or you want people to find out about what's happening. Do you want to, can you, Matt, can you move it on? Right. So I'll talk a little bit more about how radio production can help and be a way of community activism. I want to draw on 2 publications. The first one is by the All Party, I forgot this APPG. It's a government meeting anyway, about all parties that form the government and contributed to about creative health and how creative health helps in improving the well-being and quality of life. But what they found was that engagement with these arts are really low in communities that are socially deprived. And I think radio activism with a local community radio can help overcome some of these places that are activities that are taken in art galleries, places that may not be comfortable for people who don't normally go there. The second piece of work, which is a PhD thesis published by actually one of our presenters at All FM, and she found that the community radio and community station is a site for mental health support, learning, and also resistance. So a lot of it is talking about women and gender issues as well. But the things that are general to all is about a way of restoring confidence, dignity, building solidarity, which Matt mentioned before. All FM is a very diverse radio station. So we meet with all members and all sectors of society there. And it's also a way of facilitating disempowered communities to participate in new ways. So like, for example, you know, when we first started the Chinese, we are actually only one of 2 radio stations that speaks in Cantonese in England, across England. The other one is down in Southampton. So it's a way of providing a voice for the Chinese community. And in the report that we had to write to the funder of One Voice, we interviewed all our members to find out about what they've learned and how they've developed across the, I think, 3 or 4 months of broadcasting and editing and all that. And they talked about, you know, soft skills, about learning how to be a team member, about being on time, timekeeping, about supporting each other. I think that was one of their, supporting each other and allowing each other to speak. Because some members are not that vocal, some members are more vocal. So it's about giving a voice to each of our members. And also things like the digital and computer skills, obviously, because we had to do tons of editing, recording. So that was, you know, something that was very new for some people. I think I'll probably stop there. We've taken up so much of the time.
All right, that's really quite an interesting and thoughtful initiative for bringing the community together. Echo, after we hear from Circle about the YN Society, we'll talk a bit about how the Dragon's Voice is the basis for our project with NIHR to look at how radio activism can play a very big role for migrants in shaping the job market, so that they feel better enabled to look for work and to maintain work which they value. I'm going to pass the microphone over to Circle now, who's going to talk about the YN Society and how it's working and exploring some of these issues.
Thank you. Oh, thank you, Matt. Yeah. Can I move to the next slide? I'm Circle, the CEO of YN Society. Yeah. So I'll tell you about what. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. What about YN means? I think YN established 1988 as YN Chinese Women's Society. So we represent the views and needs of Chinese women. And the name YN means strong and beautiful woman, because originally we set up for supporting Chinese women suffer domestic violence. But from the women, we got children, we got young people, we got older people. So we expanded to the community. And then last 8 years, we expanded to other diverse community, not just only Chinese community. So we changed our name called YN Societies. Next slide, please. Go back. Yeah, this, thank you. Now you can see we got 3 community centers. Now the Sherlock Wellbeing, I talk about the older migrants there. The inside got a lot health and social care, community activity, mental health project, Tai Chi, health well-being program. I think it was Sherlock Radio, now it's Dragon Voice. So we create a lot different training and different community activity inside. So the HQ YN Society is headquartered in Swan Street. It's all the domestic family support with domestic violence case, adult education, training, employment team, and children project is there. Now the Welcome Center, we replicate the Sherlock model. So the Welcome Centers all for all the diverse community people from, in this center, we're from a lot Asian community, refugees, asylum seeker, Polish, Afghanistan community. So we provide a lot of health and social care, community partnership. and education training employment program. I'll tell you a bit more later. Yeah. Thank you. Next slide. So what Wai Yin say, I'd say what we do is like a change maker. Previous slide. Yeah. Yes. So a lot of people come along as a user, they become a volunteer and they become a workers. Like the next very good example, the radio program original for some of our users take part on the radio as a volunteer base, and they start the program. So some of the people into our service, they come in different journey. We call journey. It's about from user, become volunteer and become a worker, and then moving on. They find other job. They pick it up through the cocoon, and then they find some will set up CIC, some is social enterprise. I think Dragon was example, Denise, well, but such a wonderful example. But some of our example is that some people join our cooking class. Now they become writing their own cooking books and making dumpling and create their own social enterprise. And then with our welcome center, do a lot of chicken, organic chicken. Some of the people learn how to do it. And then now they go on different farmhouse, talk about the experience. So they also set up their own social enterprise. Very interesting. Some users, they are very good in the music writing, and then they do the band. And then now they're also part of our team, doing a lot of training employment program. So one of the book I appear on the 100 Women story, it was my course. It's we originally empower women who feel trapped in the cocoon and turn into butterfly by helping them develop the self-confidence, skill, and potential. That's fundamental how the community activism and empower the community they can take control of their life and moving on. And next slide, please. Yes. So some of the photo, you can see some of our team. I think our team much bigger. We got 45 staff team members. Some of our team, even some of our workers age over 50, they are the user and then they come back working for us as a staff member. Even myself, I'm volunteer a long time ago, Wai Yin, and then I'm the first worker that upon working for Wai Yin, and then I'm in and outside with different charity and university working. 5 years ago, I back to Wai Yin again as a CEO. So you never know, comes one, goes one. So the East Meet West project is mental health counseling project is for the emergency Chinese speaking counseling and psychotherapy due to the COVID emergency situation. So some of our counselor just arrived from Hong Kong quite a while. I mean, not recently, and then they have skill, and then we appoint them currently as our freelance counselor. So we do provide some of the employment. It depends the circumstances and who's fit in the community. And then some of our other good photos, our team based in Welcome Center. Some of our worker is they're Polish speaking because we're catering some of the community, large Polish speaking community in Cheetham Hill as well. Yes. So next, please. Now, I think Denise touched about the Crossing the Border, and then we funded by the Heritage Lottery Grant. And then we're able to develop the Crossing the Border, to interview Chinese older migrant about their migration journey. So, and very interesting about we capture how migrate here, what did they do? What's the living? So I'm sure some of our participant and also part of the Dragon Voice Radio and Denise, one of the participants. So and also very good news, we also got Alan Ball Award, 2020 committee publication. Now, what we left at the end when we launched our artwork 2019 Manchester Art Gallery, this artwork is going to display in the British Library in November this year as a project called Chinese in Britain nationally. So there's one of the legacy. We partnered with the Open University and Liverpool University. So there will be this artwork will be displayed in the British Library across the country, but not just Manchester project from London, from Bristol, from Scotland, from Ireland. So once got the invitation, I will send it to you. So you are welcome to visit because you talk about what the legacy, what is the something history or the migration, the older migrant can share the experience. So that's what the exhibition about. So next slide, please. So what we do about Wai Yin employment, we have an ETE team called Education Training Employment. So to give a couple examples about called life skill. Now we provide a lot life skill means a lot basic English training to the community, to the course. Now during the COVID, we all moved on the Zoom, and then now we're back to the center, still half on the Zoom, half in the center face to face. So our learners who are new to the UK is migrant. Some is older migrants, some is a new migrants, a younger or middle age. So the class including students, okay, you can see from Eritrea, I mean East Europe, but this one's Ukraine, Syria, Iran, Hong Kong, and some to Afghanistan. Last I spoke to them, he's an older migrant. He said, I'm coming to learn English. And later on, he may find out, but he's about over 75. And he talked about what he do when he in his own country. He's very professional. He's professional, can't remember his job. When he talked about his journey, good war, he coming to Manchester, live in Chittenden Mill using our center. It's very interesting. So the other, we also provide a lot of ESOL for health well-being. So our health-being classes built on our traditional of providing learning that help the learner to improve their life through increased health well-being. So some of the impact, some of the learner, they can able to talk about the health well-being experience to their family and how to look after themselves. So there's some of the, through the course, they learned some of the life skill. Yeah. So talk about employability. Some of our employment program is much bigger. We have a World Cup. We work with DWP and much more partners to provide a lot of employability cards to support our learner to gain employment skill, how to write CV, how to understand the computer application from here and interview skill. And then we also work with a lot of job center and job center to provide any job opportunity to match some of our learner into this program. They can find job, okay? And then I think I remember one of the people I really remember, I talking to him in the center. He said now he's working for the university in different employment. So it's out of some people out of poverty, out of long-term unemployment. They into this program, they feel very well, go back to the employment situation. Now we also want, are you new in the UK? But this is our leveling up Welcome Hong Kong program. We also got the Hong Kong Welcome program. Not only just befriending, we also helping them find a job. But a lot very capable, they find job actually. But some wanted to go back to mainstream or interview to be a carer or social service sector. They would like us about some experience. Even we said phone call night before, the Hong Kong people said, I'm going to have an interview next day. I want to have more about partnership, about organization, networking. So I share that. Next day, she phoned me, she got the job. Well done, congratulations. I'd love to hear all this news. So that's the employment program happening, and then more people go back to mainstream. Now we have come across some of the Hong Kong people, they bring their family over, the parents about over 15, 16. Now they're learning their ESOL classes in our Charlotte Center, now so on Zoom. They are just wanted to learn English, make friends, building their social network. Yeah. So next slide, please. So yeah, so Zoom meeting, I mean, we're all familiar with Zoom meeting. When we are locked down, everything changed to Zoom. One thing we identify about the digital poverty and then food poverty in our experience actually. And then the COVID-19 experience, I think we learned a lot, health inequality and how one the organized response situation, mental health, digital poverty, and food poverty. I think even me, a few weeks ago, I'm talking about COVID-19 as a guest lecture with MMU nursing student, over 300 students, separate two lecture, face-to-face, talk about our COVID-19 learning experience, our practice. So something, I think we never go away, forget about what COVID-19, what we experience with the community, okay? And then we are firefighters, some of our team distribute some of the tablet, some of the Wi-Fi data to some of the family. They haven't got digital. Yeah, don't talk about the employment. If you need to have skill to learn the digital skill, to communicate, to improve the communication to the world, to apply the job. Yeah, so we have some of the IT classes, yeah, IT training for the employment, to go to employment scheme. So next slide, please. So now one of our center doing some of the training, education training employment program. Yeah, I remember I speak to this gentleman. I can't see his head. The one wearing the hat. Yeah, I think he's from Afghanistan. Yeah, he's still using our center. Wonderful. Next slide, please. Yes. So you can see some of the cars they coming to learn computer. Now this is before COVID. Now after COVID, we do make an appointment because the center sometimes come across about 100 people a day, and then come in, have a kitchen, have a food, have a meal, gardening, organic chicken, flower, people write music, and high deprivation, high unemployment. Some is older migrant, as I said before, they come from different countries, not just from China or Hong Kong. This project focus Chinese older migrant, but we got much diverse community within Manchester. Okay, yeah, thank you. Next slide. Last but not least, yeah, I think your links here. So on 24th of March, just about last month actually, and we are part of Uncertain Future project. They are dissemination the emerging film and data from 100 women, the project by the Manchester Art Gallery and then University of Manchester. It was very interesting. Some of the refugee asylum seeker, they were worried about their retirement actually, or their employment, come to the pension retirement, because there's no security, no security employment for them. So what the future has become the issue we need to think through. So yeah, so that's where we are, and then very excited. So what we look like future with Mark, the project Hull University. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Circle. Many of you will be very well familiar with the YN Society. Every time I mention the research topic or try to build links with people to develop some research in the area of age and migration. When first time I mentioned YN, they talk about projects or that they've been involved in and working with the group. It's a wonderful example of a community group which is not just well organized, but is also organized to help others in organizing and representing themselves as well. So it's not just the Chinese community, as Circle mentioned, it's building the links and building the network so that a high tide will lift all boats. So we're very grateful to be working with both Denise in Dragon's Voice and Circle with the YN Society, as well as our third partner, All FM, which supports Dragon's Voice and similar programs for different communities to have a voice through the radio programming to reach the public and to reach people who can influence and improve the living conditions and the employment circumstances of other groups of groups within the Greater Manchester area. I'm now going to pass the floor over to my colleague Echo, who is a co-investigator on the project, who's going to talk a little bit about the project. Echo and Louise, my two co-researchers, are co-investigators, who'll talk a little bit about the project. And we're going to go, unfortunately, a little bit over the time, but I wanted to give members of the audience a chance to maybe give some input as well. So, Echo?
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Echo Young. I'm an associate professor in social work at the University of Hertfordshire. So in my part, I will mainly talk about the main objectives of our project and who will be involved in the project and what this project will, what we'll be doing in the project. So yes, as Matt mentioned earlier before, this project is a developmental with a developmental award and lasts for 6 months. And so with the view that we will be able to apply for more money to fund a larger project. And the focus of this project is to work with older migrants who are 50 and above, age 50 and above, or maybe beyond the state pension age. So we aim to develop some intervention to support older migrants to have healthy, extended working lives. Next slide, please, Matt. So yes, so the objectives of this project, the first one is we want to understand the experience of older migrants who are unemployed or underemployed. We want to find out the difficulties they experience when seeking and maintaining sustainable employment. We also want to find out different ways employer can make use of the skills the older migrants have already got. So with the purpose to help them to get back to employment. And from there, we want to develop and identify different ways to upskill or maybe retrain the older migrants, and to also maybe identify some transferable skills for older migrants to support them to get sustainable work. Applying the concept of community activism and using Jargon Voice and also OFM as a medium, we aim to bring different communities. So it's not just the Chinese communities, but also other Black and Asian minority ethnic communities, such as Asians and the Polish communities, and both the younger and older generation from these communities to find out if they have experienced similar or some other common challenges they experience in relation to sustainable work. And the last objective is, as we all know, that there is a strong relationship between employability and mental health. So this project, we aim to, by supporting older migrants, but not just to help them to improve employability, but also with the aim to improve and enhance their mental health well-being. Next slide, please. So this project will use the co-production approach, working closely with older Chinese migrants. So we will involve 10 to 15 older migrants from the Chinese community. Most of them will be members of Jargon Voice, other members using Huayin society services, and also the recent migrants from Hong Kong who came over to the UK under the BNO scheme. The second group of stakeholders we will be working with will be the employers. So there will be some representatives of business from joined from mainly from Work and Skills Manchester Council and also the Trade Union Council. We were working very close with executives of Jargon Voice such as Denise and Circle from the Huayin Society, and also the executive member from OFM, the radio broadcasting station based in Manchester. And the last one will be the, like I said above earlier, so will be the people different from the member from different minority ethnic communities who are also members from Huayin society, both the older and younger generations. So we will involve all these different group set of people in this project. Next slide, please. So yeah, what we will do in this project, we will be organize different activities in 3 different stages. So the first stage we call workshop 1, that will involve 4 different separate workshops with the 4 different stakeholders I just mentioned earlier. So we're trying to, in each individual groups, we will try to identify the challenges for all the migrants experience in seeking employment from the different perspectives. We will also try to identify and understand the relationship between joblessness and mental health, how being unemployed impacts on the mental health, and also how possible poor mental health can also impact on people's opportunity to seek employment. We will then bring these 4 groups together and trying to get a bigger and more detailed and richer understanding of the challenges all the migrants experience when it comes to seeking employment. So the next step in the workshop 2, we will we'll bring all the groups together and try to identify and develop solutions. So using community activism to see how we can use the resource from Jargon Voice and OFM, using their experience by working with different communities, and especially working with the Chinese community, to develop a strategy to support older migrants so that they can find an employment. So the last part was we will, so this is very much related to the as a developmental project. So we want to see how what we've learned from this project can help us build up some of the ideas, either developing resource idea to see how to address those challenges all the migrants experience when it comes to job seeking, and also try to gather some of the ideas and information collected from different perspectives, so that we can inform policy and practice reform agenda. Again, it's about supporting all the migrants to seek employment. So in the last workshop, we also want to, we will need to do something to design and develop some of the assessment tools that we can use to help measure the impact of the people, those people involved in the projects. To see how by getting involved in the project to improve their employability, and also how becoming involved in this project can help them to promote and enhance the mental health well-being.
All right. One of the elements of the research is also to ensure that any project that the NIHR funds has involvement, public involvement. Sometimes they call it public patient involvement in the project. Most of the NIHR's research is in the health sector, so they want to ensure that that patients are involved in the research and in a meaningful way. And that's certainly the case when it comes to research in social sciences areas like this project. So one of the things that we needed to do in putting together the research proposal was to have a public involvement and engagement co-investigator to ensure that people who are taking part in the research, especially older migrants themselves, feel involved in the project and feel that their input is being listened to and is meaningful. And the outcomes are things that will enhance the lives of themselves and people like them. We're very fortunate for this project because we have Louise Wong, who I've worked with on earlier projects, but who's also been involved in a number of both research and development projects over the years, who will be our PIE co-investigator. And Louise, I think if you want to maybe say a couple of words as well.
Yes, very quickly, just a couple of minutes. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, my role in this research is a public involvement and engagement co-investigator. So I'm also a community development worker of Huayin and a member of Dragon Voice. Thank you, Denise and Circle, the detailed discussion of Huayin and the involving of Dragon Voice. The success of Radio Journal program, Crossing the Border project, which is now archived in the Manchester Central Library, and the development of Dragon Voice, my involvement of all these projects were not done for the participants, but work with them. Particularly the core group member, we work together as a team. I'll give you an example, like our Sonok Sogo. Together, we send our kindness through the air to connect with our community members. So each participant contributes a sentence, a word, or even an idea. It was a product of co-production, which is based on value participants' opinion. Their experience contribute to how to design and run the project. So within Dragon Voice, our members, we have members speak little English. We also have members who speak little Chinese. We have been working together broadcasting radio program more than 5 years now. And this proves that providing participants with adequate support, we can overcome language barriers and learn from each other. So Chinese people in the UK regarded as a silent community. It is simply their voice cannot be heard. I believe empowerment is the key to open the silence door. By doing so, my role is to ensure participants feel involved and heard through the research project. Therefore, it is important to ensure the participants feel able to talk about their difficult subjects. For example, the real-world job seeker experience racism or ageism. So individual will, it's difficult to talk in a group setting. We will probably interview individual. So all discussion throughout will be in English, but we will have Cantonese and Mandarin translator available to facilitate discussion to ensure that everyone can take part and speak in their first language. So Dragon Voice has experienced features regular discrimination research findings like Ambitions for Aging research finding and reports for a process of different projects. So Dragon Voice will then feature a special program, and I guarantee it is a very special and interesting program in the future to documenting the progress of this research project. Thank you.
So again, I apologize for the slight overrunning of the session, but I did want to get some input from members of the group today about how you can be involved in the project, especially the development of the research proposal, the larger research proposal, which will come from this relatively short 6 month project. The great thing about the group that we're working with today is that it brings together people who from different perspectives, from the community perspective and academics, but also a cross-disciplinary approach. So ECHO's expertise is on mental health and well-being, and my expertise is in HRM. And we want to widen that scope as well. We want to widen the scope in terms of bringing in new community groups, different parts of the country, different migrant groups that might face separate and distinct challenges in the job market, but also an interdisciplinary approach as well, so that we have a nice rounded project. And it's a great funding opportunity to build our community, which we started up not more than a year ago, to do both research-based, interesting work, but also impactful work. So things that we're looking for help with. We're going to set up an advisory committee and have monthly meetings to update progress, to get perspectives, and so forth. We would welcome your involvement in that. Some suggestions in terms of updating the progress of our work and looking for the next steps in terms of a larger proposal through forums like this, online webinar sessions, other forums. Any suggestions would be helpful with that. The development of a full proposal. So as Echo mentioned before, we have 3 stages of workshops which we're going to be carrying out. And the last stage of that is to develop a research policy and practice agenda. And we chose those words very carefully because this is not just about putting together a research proposal, but it's also, for want of a better phrase, a program for action for community groups to support older migrants who are seeking work. So having that link between research and impact is a very strong and important element of this. It's worth mentioning as well that this particular funding, what the NIHR is interested in is improving the health and well-being for older workers who work up to and beyond the age of 65. And the way that we pitched this proposal was to say that if you want to improve the working conditions of it and the well-being of people who are working at around the age of 65, you have to make sure that they're in work which is sustainable in their 50s and 60s, because once you get to 65, you should be in a kind of job which can help you stay in work longer. So although our focus is on job transitions, which will probably be carried out in the 50s and 60s, getting it right at the earlier stage will help in improving the health and well-being of older workers at later stages. Suggestions in terms of upscaling the project and finding new avenues of inquiry would be very welcome as well. And then finally, just to mention as well that we have the research topic, which is still open in Frontiers. So if you're interested in putting a paper in for that, please drop me an email. We've got a couple that are in the pipeline right now. I think we're looking for a couple of reviewers for those. Contributions on that front would be helpful as well. So let me just open up the floor to see if anybody has any thoughts, ideas, potential contributions that you want to make.
Hi, Matt. I'll start.
Okay. Oh, hey, Elaine.
The presentations were all amazing, so thank you so much. They were really, really interesting, and so many overlaps with the uncertain futures, which is incredible. Just loads of topics. I was like writing loads of notes as I was going along. So it would be great if I could get some of these presentations as well. That would be brilliant. Sorry, I think they're breaking up. Apologies. Sorry about that. So yeah, I'd be happy to help out in any way that you need. So in terms of advisory groups or talking about how the project can be upscaled or any of those types of things, and yeah, count on me to help out.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, it's a nice thing about this research topic. Sometimes people propose special issues just to have the special issues, but I think the nice thing about this is that we've all been able to to work together to see, well, what comes after the special topic. So thanks so much for your support with this. Okay, well, if there unless there are any other contributions or any other thoughts or ideas that people have, what we'll do at this stage is we'll put the YouTube video onto the Age Diversity platform, and I'll send an email around to the group. I'm very optimistic about the mailing list that I have, because the first time I did the mailing list, I got about a couple of dozen emails back from people to say that they had gone, that the email is no longer works, or that they've changed research focuses or whatever else. The latest times I've sent things out, people are still happy to get the emails, but I'll send that out, and what we'll do is we'll put something on the website as well for people to respond through written contributions as well. So it's a way in which to keep the group active and together. I recognize the fact that we have this session during Easter break, and there are probably a lot of people are on vacation or whatnot and aren't available for this time. But I quite like these webinar discussions. So if anybody has an idea for a subsequent one, maybe later on in the year, please do drop me an email as well, because it's always nice to get together with folks and see how everybody is. And even if we can't be in the same room at the same time and the same place, nice thing about Zoom and Teams and so forth is that you maintain the connections that way. So if there aren't any other there aren't any other questions or contributions or so forth. I'll call it to a close now. I thank you all for staying a bit extra for the time, but I will keep you updated. And if you want to, if you have some thoughts or you have some ways that you'd like to keep connected to the project, please do drop me an email, and I'll be sure to include you in any communications that we have on the project. Last thing I'll ask before we go, though, is Denise, what time is the next Dragon's Voice program? Oh, sorry, you're on mute. Oh.
Sorry. The next one is on the 22nd tomorrow, but I think Louise has reserved a bit of a spot for you on the 29th.
Oh, okay.
So I believe you're doing a recording or something, Louise?
Am I?
I think the 29th we're doing the health one. So maybe after 29th, we got more time to prepare for the next show. So it should be the first week of May.
Okay.
We look at the ECHO program. Go along with the employment part of it.
Okay.
Right.
So
I mean, you need to, because after this week I'm not going to be available that much. You need to coordinate with the project coordinator about which days you want to go on which slots.
Yeah, now we kick off the research project now, so I can help to with the group. Yeah.
Okie doke.
oh, cool. So I'm gonna be on the radio.
Yes.
Sometime in May.
Everybody
right.
welcome.
Yeah. I hope I don't cause any accidents by putting drivers to sleep as they're driving down the highway or anything. But I am looking forward to it. Well, thank you all so much, and thank you for coming to the session today. It was a really nice discussion.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.